If you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1 a month, your name can appear at the beginning of this and many other upcoming videos. Why? Why? Why does this show keep ruining my ships? I should admit that after seeing the synopsis for this episode, I wasn't exactly looking forward to it. Even as a Pinkie Pie fan, I could easily tell where this was going. A mod couple is basically a story where the characters find out that someone close to them has a date, and they make getting along with them difficult on themselves for no good reason. It's a problem that's pretty easy to solve, but they make an entire conflict out of it so the episode can have tension. And it just feels artificial. So I have to ask, why did they go through with it if there's no interesting spin on it? Well, as a reviewer, I have to find out why, so let's take a closer look. I should start by talking about the new opening, and holy crap, I love it. Out of all the openings this show has ever had, this one is definitely the most compelling. We've had changes to the intro in the past, but this one feels like the first one ever to really acknowledge the passage of time that's been happening in the show. So many things are updated to establish just how far the characters have come since the very beginning. Rainbow Dash is a Wonderbolt and she flies along with them. Maud has moved somewhere closer to Ponyville. Cranky and Matilda are going out with the same wig that he wore on their wedding day. The CMC are hanging out with their cutie marks. Big Mac and Sugar Belle dating. Ember and Thorax flying around after they became friends. Rarity with Sassy Saddles running her boutique in Canterlot. Fluttershy running her animal sanctuary with Discord chilling in the background. Fluttershy giving a happy expression instead of a nervous one when Angel eats the fruit, showing how much she's grown as a character. The ending photo shoot is updated with the main group taking a picture with their students at the Friendship School. And it concludes with Cadance and Shining Armor and Flurry Heart alongside the Royal Sisters as they look over Twilight's letter. There's a really dedicated attention to detail with this opening. It shows how the staff really wanted to make sure that it was keeping up to speed with what's happened so far. It's just so refreshing to see, and it's a really pleasant way to start watching Season 8 episodes. But then I'm reminded that this episode is about getting along with a contrasting boyfriend-girlfriend character, and I hope that they make it as least cringy as possible. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna shake their heads at Pinkie over this episode, but to her credit, it's not exactly her fault. The way I see it, this episode idea was gonna be annoying no matter who it focuses on, and Pinkie being the one they chose for it is just a stroke of dumb luck on my end. Is it because Pinkie was the only character that could make this kind of story work? Because it doesn't entirely succeed. And the reason for that is because the episode doesn't give a good enough reason for Pinkie to have a hard time getting along with Maud's boyfriend. I mean, he's not an interesting character, but so what? And the first reason she has for not liking him is kind of her fault, as she was needlessly delaying him, which made it harder for him to say bye and leave the store. And a lot of the rest of the episode is just her getting worked up over nothing. Like, it really is nothing. And it just feels out of character. Pinkie normally puts a lot more time into getting to know someone better. She's never really jumped to conclusions like this. It made sense in the cutie map because she was suspicious that something was wrong with the townspeople, and she was proven to be right. In comparison, she just feels needlessly judgmental about Maud's boyfriend. She even resorts to being way too selfish with this one line of dialogue.
I just can't believe you would choose sitting around with him over a party with your own sister.
That comes across as way too selfish for Pinkie, and it ends up contributing to a running problem with the episode. How Pinkie doesn't take a moment to listen to Maud. She interrupts her, making it difficult to communicate with her. She doesn't take a moment to think about despite his flaws, this guy is doing something to make her sister happy. And when Maud takes the moment to tell Pinkie that he makes her happy, she just assumes that she doesn't need her in her life anymore. Seriously, how did she even come to that conclusion? It just feels wrong because not only is this not fitting for Pinkie's character, it replaces more interesting aspects of her personality with that annoying dad who doesn't like his daughter's boyfriend. Like, that's literally Pinkie's character during this conflict. I know that she's always reacted strongly to a lot of odd stuff, but why here? Why on earth did they ever think of combining Pinkie with a concept like this? This is something that you'd see in a shitty sitcom episode or a shitty comedy movie, and trying to fit Pinkie into that environment interferes with aspects of her personality that people love her for. And it's just a shame that it overshadows Pinkie's better aspects because she actually shows some good characteristics jokes in this episode. The opening where she plays along with Maud's anti-humor shows how she understands her more than most others, which is something that we know since it was established in previous episodes. She shows a desire to spend time with her sister so the two can continue to have things to relate to. She starts to worry about her after she's practically gone missing and she couldn't find her anywhere, putting up missing posters in the town. When Maud first announces that she has a boyfriend, she acts excited and proud for her, and she was actually putting forth an effort to warm up to Maud Breyer, introducing herself and acknowledging his no-stick abuse rule. And her eyes were closed when she went into the store, so she didn't see him when she went to the counter. She didn't cut him on purpose, and she apologized for it. I really like these bits of Pinkie much more than her presence in the second act because it shows how well-meaning she is, and it shows how she really cares about her sister. But in her defense, I might understand why she had a hard time getting used to Maud Breyer because he's really not an interesting character. He does have a humorously clever cutie mark, but the character himself is really flat. We don't get that much out of him since most of the episode is focused on Pinkie being needlessly judgmental, and even then, he doesn't leave a memorable impression. His repetitive dialogue makes conversations needlessly complicated and drawn out, and he doesn't have much of a personality outside of, oh, he's kind of like Maud, but he's into sticks instead of rocks. The most character we get out of him is when he does this holograph thing with his mind, and it cleverly doesn't have Pinkie on screen until it's over, which further implements how it was going on in his head. It's a good bit from him, but outside of that, he just doesn't have anything going for him. Alright, so what do I like about the episode? I mean, outside of Pinkie's much better bits and that holograph mind thing. Well, I really like Starlight's role as a supporting character. I'm really impressed with the supporting roles from her so far because they show how she's been taking her lessons as Twilight's apprentice to heart. She doesn't need to be anything more than that because she just needs to be a figure of guidance to the other characters and give them helpful advice. And the support that she gives to Pinkie in this episode is actually pretty good, helping her to be reasonable and telling her to take it slow and just stop being unreasonable. The episode even acknowledges the friendship that built up between her and Maud, showing them flying kites together and having a line of dialogue that acknowledges how she's come to know her on a personal level. I feel like after Starlight was just shoved into the main cast at the end of season 5, it's best for her to be utilized as a supporting character instead of being thought of as a main one. Because with her appearance in this episode combined with her last one, it feels like they're really starting to do some good with her. I also like Maud in this episode. She seems to be showing much more variety in her personality now that she has a boyfriend who's helping her to express herself more. She's actually smiling much more in this episode than she has in any other instance in the show. And despite having a boyfriend, she still takes the time to think about both him and Pinkie, which is a lot more reasonable than how Pinkie was acting in that instant. And her other sisters make a really good appearance too. They act as a window of support for Pinkie while she's feeling down, and they help her better understand why Maud would like Breyer. And the lesson that they teach her is actually done in a clever way. It's the usual don't judge a book by its cover kind of deal, but it's done in a way that's both literal and metaphorical. And they take the time to explain it to Pinkie in a way that allows her to absorb the advice that's being given to her. We haven't really had much of Marble and Limestone in a while, so it's great to know that this episode has them return by doing something helpful. And aside from that, the episode also gets some funny stuff across. Pinkie assuming that Maud might be dating a giant rock and asking if Boulder is jealous, Limestone commenting on her emo nature, the hide-and-seek montage having a charming niche to it. There's even this cartoony breakdown where Pinkie envisions the main group denouncing their interests while giving them these silly-looking faces. And the ending has a sweet and lighthearted way of resolving the conflict while not exactly ignoring the issue. It shows that Pinkie still needs time to get used to Maud Breyer, but nonetheless she accepts her into Maud's life as well as her own. And they find a way to throw the surprise party in a way that works out for everyone. So everything actually comes full circle at the end. So, how was the episode as a whole? Well, it's another one that I think of as just okay. There's a lot of good stuff in it, and it has a pretty nice moral, but it's ultimately weighed down by the introduction of a dull character and the very unreasonable portrayal of Pinkie Pie. They basically turned her into Stan Smith for this episode, or at least the more annoying aspects of Stan Smith. Because of this, the episode has somewhat of a repetitive tone during the second act, and I still don't understand why the episode had to be like that. Why did they resort to a lame sitcom idea instead of constructing an interesting story about Maud getting a boyfriend? There's a lot of possibilities they could have gone with that would have been much more interesting. Maybe we'll get some more focus on this concept in the future, but for now, it just seems like a middle-of-the-road idea that doesn't have the potential that it could have had. Well, that's it for this week's MLP review. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back soon with more to come. So until we meet again, stay awesome. This is Map, signing out.